Ipswich Town signing number 5 is through the door. All 6'6" of him, and we're here to react here on Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. Well, Joe, the cumulative spending continues to increase, but this was less of a surprise with the story having broken over the weekend. What's your immediate reaction to the arrival of Arijanet Muric? I think we're going with Aro or Aro, though, aren't we? What's your take?
It sounds like it's up to £56 million of fees now. Before you look at the add-ons, which are apparently another, I think 5, 8, 11, like another 13 on top of that. So we are really, really spending, and we've been in for Philogene at 18 million, apparently in for Flynn Downs at 18 million. So I don't think the spending is going to stop here. There's probably seems like another 40 million or so at least to be spent. So unbelievable times. Our 5th signing of the summer, Ben Johnson on a free, and are now 4 most expensive transfers ever in history below that, 18, 15, 15, and now 8 million for him. It was a goalkeeper who was our record transfer for all these years, Matteo Serini, and let's hope that this is a better signing than that. But on the face of it, it looks really, really exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah, almost double, isn't it? That fee, 8 million plus 10 million of add-on, at least according to the Athletic, who is either the Athletic or David Ornstein, who kind of broke this story.
He is at the Athletic, isn't he?
Is he? There you go. Double bubble. So that broke on Saturday, and it's now been confirmed, medical sorted, 4-year deal, signing from Burnley. And yeah, I mean, Joe, we keep signing these Man City youngsters, don't we? I mean, you'll know Kieran Slicker probably quite well, won't he? The ex-Man City goalkeeper. But we like the kind of young pedigree through the Premier League academies, don't we? Kind of profile, and he fits the bill in that respect, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he even mentioned in his Town TV interview today that he'd had a trial at Manchester United when Kieran McKenna was in charge of the 18s there as well. So it does go back to there. But it's very, very much the same profile of goalkeeper we're looking at, where with what we had with Václav Hladký last year, there was talk of sort of Christian Walton coming back in and that style of goalkeeper. But no, with Kieran Slicker as the 3rd choice and now Aro Muric as the 1st choice, everyone would assume it's very much we want our goalkeepers to be footballers first and foremost.
Yeah, should we drill into the stats later on? Joe's done some digging in the stats, so we'll try and give you kind of a statistical comparison between Hladký and Muric. But it's no surprise that there's quite a lot of similarities there. Maybe obviously Muric has the bigger physical presence, being 5 or 6 inches taller than him, I think it is. So yeah, we'll kind of compare it. Maybe some of the footwork, I don't know if that's the right word, but let's say hello to the folk in the chat as well, evening to FPL and James, Justin as well. And it's 10 degrees in Brisbane, Joe. Cold and damp. First, it's quite nice here, isn't it? Finally, summer's here for a couple of days. Yeah, Michael's not getting any sympathy. FPL, just the £8 million. Surprised we're bothering. Well, sometimes, yeah, we've got to get out of bed for less than 15 million FPL, but goalkeeper, yeah, I mean, your thought very quickly on that. I mean, FPL's having a bit of a gag there, but £8 million for a goalkeeper is pretty good in the Premier League, Joe, isn't it? I mean, Trafford, what was the fee for Trafford?
I think Trafford was 17 or 16 or 17. Yeah. Gavin Bazzuno the year before was 13 or 14. And they were off the back of League One loan spells. They were young keepers with the Man City Academy tax, which everyone seems to pay at the moment, including us with Liam Delap, no doubt. But they went there for huge money off the back of a League One season, and both, I'd say, flopped, really. They were like James Trafford. I really rate him as a keeper. I don't particularly rate Gavin Bazzuno. I sort of mentioned that on here before, but Trafford, I really rate him. But a lot of Burnley fans, I know it's in the comments, but it's if you'd have played to Muric, if you'd have played all season, we'd have stayed at. And it was just the case that Trafford's come in. Muric was incredibly successful the year before. Muric is dumped onto the bench, and it sounds like they feel that he was treated quite poorly by Vincent Kompany in that regard, and has held it against him, and has basically wanted to leave the club since that point. So I think we're benefiting from the fact he didn't get a chance. I think when you look at the season last year, I think James Trafford played 28 games. I think in those 28 games, I think they picked up 16 points. And in the 10 games that Aro Muric played, they picked up 10 points. So it's a big improvement, but at different stages of the season. And I don't know if anyone's seen the highlight reels that are tweeted from every game that he played last year, but you'd imagine that the 10 games he's played, you'd think it would take 100 games to get as many highlights as he's managed to pick out in 10 games. This is not going to be a boring keeper. This is going to be exciting, seat of your pants stuff. That person who used to sit next to you and moan about Hladky taking too many shots, get ready for them next year because they're going to be even worse, because he is Hladky on speed.
There you go. Get rid of it, boy. Get rid of it. Michael, yeah, love how we're getting players in. I mean, preseason's kind of started, but I get in terms of the preseason games, he's joined the team out in Austria, hasn't he? So, yeah, getting the business done. We'll talk. We will revisit the squad depth because there's a big glaring hole probably in the middle of the part where the recruitment needs to maybe focus next. So we'll talk about that later. But Michael's right, isn't he, Joe? Important these players get to know everybody and get familiar and get plenty of preseason game minutes, and figure out the system as well. A keeper are probably quite critical for us, knowing how Hladky was so important last season, right?
Yeah, there's massive patterns of play, the way we play. You've got to get confidence with the guys around you, know when you can pass, know when you can't pass, and sometimes you'll make a mistake, no doubt, and it will go wrong at times. But the earlier the better for these. And I guess it's not so much with the goalkeeper, but the extra fitness we need. I think there was in League One, we were the fittest team, and the players came away saying, "Yeah, we're the fittest team in League One," but we'd be the third less fit team in the Championship with regards to sprints, runs. So they all went away and came back in absolute tip-top shape, getting up to where they needed to be. And you see someone like Axel Tuanzebe came in with big Premier League experience, and it took him really from sort of September, I think he signed just after the transfer window shut, till about February before he was really up to the speed required to play regularly for us. So it was so important that these guys are in, and we're doing unbelievably well with what we've got in so far. Yeah, there are gaps, and there will be things that go right up to the end of the window, but these guys are giving themselves the biggest opportunity, and it's given us the biggest opportunity having them here and having them ready, having them learning the very, very complex patterns of play, the fitness levels, your teammates, where you can move. Like I said, these guys can play the system with their eyes closed. The Connor Chaplins, Wes Burnses, Sam Morseys, Massimo Luongos. So you've got to be better than them and get in the team ahead of these guys.
Do you think, and a bonus question from me here, do you think the recruitment for the back line is pretty much done? We're obviously debating maybe a low need to come and cover for Leif Davis, maybe, but in terms of the likely starters, they are hashtag in the building now, aren't they? I mean, that's in terms of you're establishing those partnerships, Harry from Bath, Kosovan and Bonds, that back line in the Premier League needs to be super familiar. So that feels like it's probably it, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I guess the only alternative is a potential another right-sided centre-back, but we've got George Edmondson who can play there, Luke Wolverton who can play there, and Axel Tuanzebe who can play there. So you'd feel we are probably set there, and we've got bigger needs. So it's going to be difficult to find somebody in the right price range and availability who could come in and be better than those three players. So you'd imagine we are set. But yeah, a backup for Leif Davis, maybe that's one that we look in the loan market for, just a young sort of player from Arsenal or Chelsea who can come in and sit a left wing back and shadow him and have a season doing that. But yeah, it does feel like we're really set in that back five now, and now it's just a case of these people trying to win their place and get themselves in the team and stay in the team. Yeah,
exactly right. George is not here for Muric, he's here for Joe Fairs. There you go. A lot of love for Joe in the chat as always. To Neil, regular occurrences, big signings now. Yeah, I mean, I describe them like buses on Saturday nights. But yeah, it's good to just see how far we've come and how we're not mucking around. James talks about how this finally knocks the Serini signing off the highest keeper fee at least. Now we've got the outfield numbers sorted as well. But yeah, get your thoughts in on Aro Muric. Let us know if it's Aro or Arrow as well. Or if you want to go with Arijanet, which I think is how you pronounce it. But yeah, Michael, did you see the nutmeg he did in the 6-yard box? Is that on your highlights reel?
Well, there's one main highlights reel which includes that one, and then there's a highlights reel from each game he played. So there's a thread on Twitter which has a highlights reel of like 2 minutes from each game he played, which includes the drifting out to right back to take down a long ball, pinging balls forward, flying out of the area, kicking, letting the ball roll under his foot into the goal, kicking the ball off a striker into the goal in another game. It was, I say, it's not for the faint-hearted. I had a look at his career and his international career, and he originally played for Montenegro as an under-21 international. Played 2 games for them, got 2 red cards, one for handling the ball outside the box, a second one for headbutting an opponent. And then after that, he transferred to play for Kosovo. So he's now a Kosovan international, but this is going to be exciting.
Chris, and I've clocked this just as I saw the comment, obsessed with the fact that the red stripe on Rich's shirt joins in with the on-screen graphics. Apologies for those on podcast, but yeah, I'm wearing the 1992 red and black recreation that went on sale, and our new Blue Monday icon is, I've managed to get the width spot on, and I'm joining up with the I mean, that is just symmetry. There you go, Chris. I'm glad someone noticed it. It's like that DVD logo thing that is it going to get in the corner. Getting on back to business. Ashley's here. Burnley fans rated Muric and was shoved to one side by company for Trafford. Yeah, I mean, there's always mixed reviews, isn't there, Joe? And again, though, we're seeing Burnley fans saying should be 15 million quid, should be 20 million quid. That always bodes well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's a massive step up, which they had with Trafford, to go from League One to the Premier League, to, like I say, to go from a team that I don't think even got in the playoffs in League One to the Premier League team. And the same with Gavin Bazunu the year before, going from League One Portsmouth straight to Southampton. And Muric has done it. He's played, there was one season for Man City, 2018-19, where he was, I guess, 20, 21 years old, where he was on the bench for every league game, played all the League Cup games up until the final, which he was on the bench for when they won the League Cup. So there's obviously that pedigree there. He's had numerous loan spells, quite difficult to track. I think he went to Holland first, had a spell there, Turkey, Nottingham Forest. I think he's been to, then went back to Holland, and then ended up signing permanently for Burnley ahead of their championship season, played every game for them in that season and was seen as the key man, or one of the very key men in their promotion to the Premier League, and then was just unceremoniously dumped aside. And it feels like he earned a chance to be in the Premier League, both with that and what he did last season. And now he's going to get his chance with us. And it's I know it's not masses of experience, but he still played 10 Premier League games. He still was at Man City for a whole season in a matchday squad for every single game in the Premier League. These are big things. He's not as green as some would think. And he's 6'6", built like a brick outhouse. And it's just what you want a goalkeeper to look like. He is, if you were to draw a goalkeeper on a bit of paper, he's what you'd come up with. And
he's got a beard as well, which is important. Yeah, I mean, joined Man City's youth set up from Grasshoppers, NAC Breda, Forest you mentioned, Girona, Willem 2, Zvai, Adana Demirspor in Turkey, and yeah, as you say, then on to Burnley. So yeah, plenty of minutes there, and yeah, good international grounding as well, which will come in handy for season after next when we're in the Europa Conference League. Interesting question here from Michael. Do you think we'll get an older keeper for number 2? There was a debate on the Saturday show, Joe, where we were looking at the squad depth, and Christian Walton's situation came up in conversation. I guess 2 questions in one, and kind of nicking Michael's question. Do you think we'll bring in a third choice to get Kieran Slicker some game time in the Championship on loan? And if so, what's the profile? The consensus was we need a kind of a freebie 30-something keeper to come in who's got that experience. But second question, what do you do about Christian Walton?
I think that you probably end up keeping Christian Walton about. I think in an ideal world, you get him out and you get someone else in. But I don't like it sounds a bit harsh, but Ipswich Town are going to do what's best for Ipswich Town this summer, not what's best for Christian Walton. And if that means we have to keep him around here because he's a good number 2, and we want to do that, that's what we'll do, no matter how much he wants to go and play football elsewhere. So I imagine that's what that's what happens. I think you try and get Slicker out on loan because we want that. You then try and bring in another experienced keeper. I note from the training videos, David Martin, who signed from, I guess he was Southend last year, he's come in as a goalkeeping coach, but he's very much in the orange goalkeeper wear as opposed to the coaching wear. And when they're doing some drill where they're all wearing sunglasses, I assume it's sort of vision restricting sunglasses, but they had Christian Walton, David Martin and Henry Gray and Kieran Slicker as the keepers doing that. Those four were all in there doing that while Rennie Gilmartin was feeding the ball. So maybe we've got the number 3 in the building at the moment already, and David Martin. If we can't get anyone else in for Slicker to go, I know we didn't do a live reaction show for the David Martin signing pod.
Signing number 6 then, yeah.
But yeah, I think he's billed as a coach and not as a player, but it wouldn't surprise me if he is the third choice keeper for the season. But it's just whether we want to try and get a goalkeeper of the profile of Muric in that is a top footballing goalkeeper in case anything does happen to him, and we want to bring in somebody of that style. And it's just, how do you find another keeper like that without spending a huge amount of money? That's the difficult thing. We obviously had one in the building that maybe we could have done more to keep hold of and have him as the backup, but like I said, we don't know how that played out. But it would look really good at the moment to have Muric as first choice, Sladky as second choice, and Alpha as third choice, because they're so similar.
Yeah, I guess like he's not ended up anywhere. A couple of rumours, I think some links to Czechia and
Burnley.
Burnley, yeah, which came out yesterday, didn't it? Which would have been an interesting kind of transference situation there. But we'll keep an eye on that one. Joe, your namesake here. Do you expect this ends the move for Rushworth? Heavily linked, of course, wasn't he? I think it feels like there was a permanent deal that we wanted to do, but they were more interested in the loan. Is that right? Have I heard that right? Or have I made that up?
I'd heard that from someone a couple of weeks back that we wanted to sign him. They only wanted a loan. And I think Alan Nixon reported in The Sun at the weekend or on his Patreon. I'm not sure which one it was, but basically that Ipswich wanted a permanent. They only want a loan. They worry that they think he's a future England goalkeeper. They don't want to let him out of the building. And that doesn't really work for us. And I don't think it now works for us as a loan, because I can't imagine we're going to bring him in on loan and have him backing up Muric, and we're not going to play him ahead of Muric. So that, for me, that does end that one. You're not going to spend another 8 million quid on another keeper, are you, ultimately? And you're on mute, Rich.
Yeah, sorry, I'm multitasking here, Joe, because there's a photo just gone on Twitter which has got one of the new keeper kits in it. So I'm trying to get a photo of that so I can put that on screen and get your immediate reaction to it, Joe, because I mean, we're used to kind of bold goalkeeper kits over in the last few years with Umbro, but this is this is pretty vivid.
They did show a couple of keeper kits earlier. One on the suitcases.
I think yeah. So I think this is
a pink one and a yellow one,
but in a different light. So here's here I see him as the goalkeeper kit, pink with some kind of Umbro style diamond, in kind of perimeter. What's the word? Edging? I don't know what that's the wrong word. But yeah, that's the one. And then I think the yellow one is the training wear, isn't it?
I thought the yellow one, because that had his name on the back of it as well. So
okay.
I think that must be the other goalkeeper kit.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that one, Joe? Are you going to be buying that one?
I probably won't be buying it, but I quite like it. I think I like the goalie kits to be bright and unusual. But the only thing I find is the Umbro ones are the same with all the clubs. It's been quite confusing because you're seeing pictures of him in the Burnley goalkeeper kit and the black Umbro goalie kit, and it looks like he's wearing an Ipswich shirt, and pictures of him in the training wear, and it's all the same as our training wear from last year. So it almost looks like he's been an Ipswich player already.
Yeah, George says you're wearing green and yellow for the pick. Yeah, not happy.
No,
but yeah, pink,
ideal.
Very pink. Says Sharon. Yeah, it will be interesting. Because we've been speculating, because we saw Umbro's kits for Hearts, Gordon, wasn't it? At Hearts, and it kind of had I've got it over there. I should have brought it on screen. The kind of 93, 94 weird kind of
the grey with the purple,
asymmetric type design, but it was in white, wasn't it? And we were kind of thinking, oh, maybe they'll put it in grey, but haven't seen that one yet. But we'll keep our eyes peeled. There'll be a podcast to react to goalkeeper kits, I'm sure, in more detail at some point. Do you want to do we've got some questions which we'll come back to. Do you want to go through the kind of stats analysis?
Yes, yeah.
Where do you want me to start?
I guess just on the bar chart one, I think
for
first.
Hladky or Muric?
For Hladky. Yeah, so this is where we were last year, and you look at it, and as you go down, it's basically Hladky was an average goalkeeper for the PSXG minus GA is basically how many goals you should have let in and how many he did let in. So Hladky was just very slightly positive. So he basically let in everything he should and saved everything he should. So that was fine on that. And the rest, save percentage quite low, clean sheet percentage high because we were obviously a dominant team in the league. Touches, he was very high for a goalkeeper. And then the bottom two, defensive actions outside the penalty area. This is basically sweeper keeping. Yeah. And then average distance from goal of his defensive action. So those two show that he was very, very high up the pitch in what he did. So you look at there, the crosses stopped is quite low percentages. Crosses stopped, which shows he's not dominating in the box and goal. But if you look at him, you sort of see average shot stopper, likes to kick the ball short, doesn't go long, and likes to sweep a keep effectively when you look at that.
Yeah, I was interesting that the average length of goal kicks shows that number as red. And I guess in our style of play, that's probably a green, isn't it?
Being very short.
Yeah, and then I'll compare that with Muric for you. There you go.
So instantly what you see with Muric is he's basically the best goalkeeper in the league at shot stopping, 98 percentile for save percentage and including penalty kicks. So he's a brilliant shot stopper. He has more touch of the ball than anybody. He goes longer every now and again, and but he's the best goalkeeper in the league for dominating his box, so stopping crosses, and for the sweeper keeping part of it as well. So effectively, with Hladky, they're similar with regards to touching the ball, getting outside the box, sweeper keeping. But the difference between Muric and Hladky is Muric is the top shot stopper in the league, where Hladky is just an average shot stopper, and he's the best in the league at basically stopping crosses. Where
I was going to say that number's stark, isn't it? In comparison, let me just put that Hladky number up: 5.5% to 14%.
Yeah. So it is just it's a goalkeeper of a similar profile, but a big upgrade in shot stopping and catching crosses effectively, which is huge. Which are things which are really, really going to help us next year. And also all these stats, these are in the Premier League, so he's the top goalkeeper in the Premier League for shot stopping, and obviously it's different because he's under a lot of pressure. But he's also the top goalkeeper in the league for coming to claim crosses and breaking sort of moves down that way. So whilst Hladky is average, he's average at a lower level, and Muric is exceptional at a higher level at those things. So I know stats don't prove anything, but it really does show what an upgrade it is.
Yeah, it tells a story. And apologies for those listening on podcast. I think Joe talked through the main ones there, but we'll put those graphics out on our socials and folk in the Telegram group as well. I'm probably already seen those, but if not, we'll share those as well. Do you want to do the cartwheel thing as well, Joe? Because that's something that's very familiar to kind of football manager players as well. But same story, but more graphically represented, is it?
Yeah, it's just a graphic of it, but all it does is show that Hladky is a very accurate long kicker of the ball. Everything else he does short. His cross stopping is low, as we said on the other ones, and the save percentages, all those areas are average effectively. Sort of between, they range from sort of mid range to low range as a goalkeeper. But then for those watching, when you see Hladky's now and then you change it for Muric's, straight away it fills up in save percentage, crosses stop, penalty kick saved there. So it's really just illustrating the other one, but you just see that expand out in really important areas. And I think there was when you look at all the goalkeepers in the league, this sort of goals prevented, they call it effectively, ones where you save them when you shouldn't. Just on pure number of goals, he was third in the league for this, and he only played 10 games. So in 10 games, he prevented 7 goals. And top of the league was, I think, the Wolves keeper, who prevented 9 goals in 38 games. So if he'd have extrapolated that across the season, he'd have been 25 goals prevented. Obviously, it doesn't quite work like that, but their numbers, the only other place you see them, I think, is Corey Adai, who was the Crawley keeper in League 2 and led them to promotion. But I think he's left them as well this summer to go to Stockport, I think.
But it goes to kind of, I know you kind of said you can prove that anything with stats, but the sentiment from Burnley fans that if he'd played more, they might have stayed up. That kind of stat about goals prevented kind of bears that out, doesn't it? So it's always interesting to see that. And yeah, as I said, we will share that. But let me just do the comparison very briefly again. I mean, look at that right-hand side in terms of pass length and all that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, it's much more busy. And so I'm saying what I see here rather than drilling into any kind of insight, but the blocks are bigger and that's better, isn't it? And as you say, level up as well. So yeah, thanks for sharing those, Joes. Anything else you want to draw out before we head back to the chat? or any other final comments? I think we've dealt with his career history, 8 million quid plus 2 million add-ons, Man City sell-on percentage 6'6", Kosovan 4-year deal. That's the headlines, isn't it? And we're very happy.
We're all very happy. And again, as I said on the Jacob Greaves pod as well, it's really good to look on the comments from when you see today we have sold them, good luck for the future at your new club. You look below that and it's full of their fans saying, this is a bargain, what a deal Ipswich you got. It should be double that. Vincent Kompany should never have dropped him last year. He really peed him off, and you can see why we'd rather him still be here than Kompany. Those sort of comments, and I think they feel like they're now dropping down into the Championship, and they're going to downgrade their goalkeeping situation by losing him. Where you'd think that the 17 million quid England under-21 international they signed from Man City, you wouldn't care what your backup goalkeeper is, but I think they wanted him to play a lot earlier than he did. And it's amazing when you look at those stats and you see some of the high-profile mistakes he made in there. There's sort of two real big mistakes in the 10 games there, and he's still loved by their fans. So I just say you just can't wait to see him in action now, and it is going to be entertaining.
Yeah, well, you get to check his stats out for Football Manager, do you not? They still have a stat for eccentricity?
Yes,
What's
they do.
Likely to be?
I could probably check it while I'm on here, but I'd imagine
we'll come back to that one if you can.
Yeah,
I'll go through the chat. We've got some love for the yellow goalkeeper top from Colin. Good to see Colin. Reminds me of Shilton and Clements for England. There you go, and Gordon Banks. So high price. That's good company to be in there, isn't there, as well? What else? We've got a lot of love in the chat. What was this? Oh, there you go. Michael, commanding his area, big thing, and taking the pressure off the defenders. I think that's big shout there. And the likes of, I was going to say City will probably bombard us to get into Haaland, but that's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? But yes, a lot of teams will play with wingers, won't they, Michael, and get those crosses in. And we've got the height at the back, I guess, but you want the keeper to take the pressure off, and maybe at times like he didn't do that. Have you got the number as I pad?
Yeah, I am up to it now. Just looking onto the screen. He is. It isn't actually on there anymore.
Is it?
It's hidden on there. So
that's a shame.
But his current ability, and because the Athletic now do these articles about transfers where they look at the Football Manager ratings of them, but his ability is higher than any of the goalkeepers in our squad. So he goes into it at what is effectively a star player level for us. So really, really good.
Bit of a segue here, but we have done a chat with Joe. If you're not aware, Joe is the researcher for Football Manager for Ipswich Town. There's a pod from a couple of years ago where we talked through the process, but very quickly, you must be licking your lips at having to check through some of these players that we're signing and the stats, and presumably are you going to be knocking a few of the existing squad numbers up as well to kind of make it Premier League ready, or are you keeping everything as is from the end of last season?
Yeah, it sort of has to stay as it was from the end of last season because that's what we rated against there. But the new signings are all coming in and bringing that level up now. It's just trying to get a handle of what the wages are going to be at this level, because our wage bill is going to probably treble, and it's just working out how much of these guys are going to get paid a week, how much of the existing players are going to get moved up to keep it accurate there. But it's going to be, like I say, these are going to be the highest paid players in our history, this squad, by a big distance. So
it's going to be a round of FM that Ipswich Town fans can enjoy playing for once. Rewind a few years, absolute. Probably actually a cheat code at League One level, but now it's going to be interesting to hold our own, isn't it? Just a few bits and pieces of admin before we go back to the chat and just revisit that squad depth as well. We are brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, Ipswich, Colchester and London base, your go-to for any property or company law, any landlord advice, commercial property, wills, etc. Head to atwells.com for their services. And our new partners at One Stop Badges. If you want custom-made promotional items like badges and key rings, One Stop Badges. There's a link in the description. Blue Monday subscribers get 10% off. So use the link in the description to activate that promo. We thank both Atwells and One Stop Badges for their support this season. You can catch our reactions to, all the new signings had a reaction at some point, apart from David Martin. But is it David Martin?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the Jacob Greaves and Liam Delap are the most recent ones, so they're still available on the channel. FPL is kicking off again. You can join the Blue Monday FPL League. Have I remembered? I haven't done it. I'll put the code up towards the end of the show. But Blue Monday Telegram group members have their custom head-to-head league. So if you're looking for another reason apart from transfer gossip and idle speculation, the Blue Monday Telegram group, head-to-head FPL league. Come and join us in that as well. But I'll put up the FPL code on our socials, but also here in the live show in a bit. I do have the letters, but I just put the image up. I think it's CU0IKK. So if you want to join that, but otherwise,
I wondered where you're going after the first.
Yeah, I wasn't appreciating that KK at the end, but anyway, moving on. And also we've got in terms of shows coming out. Our mate Jacob Howley has done a midfielders targets video. We'll talk about that in a second as it relates to the squad depth, and we'll probably do something about FPL on Sunday. Now the Euros have gone, we very much feel a burden of responsibility to talk about football on a Sunday night. We'll also, I think, have a first friendly to talk about as well. So join us. We should be live Sunday, 8 p.m. as well. Good. Back to the chat, Joe. I've got a few questions that I've starred, so we'll come back to those. Oscar, opinions on the rumours?
There is one thing that worries me, though, just quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Muric, his squad number history. At Man City, he was number 49. Nottingham Forest, he was number 49. Girona was number 25. Willemswijk, 49. Adana, Dennispor, 49. Burnley, 49. So I think we may be having a goalkeeper with a stupid number on his back.
Oh. Purists, hang your heads in shame in that one, but I don't care about that. Seb will. I can feel Seb's rage in the chat. But yeah, it's not going to bother me. But if it bothers you, let us know. We're happy to vent for you here on Blue Monday. And it feels like Joe's going to advocate for that anyway. Oscar asks about Corey Schmeller. Have I got that right? Midfielder target, Joe. This has come up a few times, has it?
I've not heard of this one.
No. Have I stumbled into a joke there that
it just reminds me of the Bradley Walsh quote? But
have I said something offensive there? Apologies if I have. Oscar's totally screwed me over there. I'm sure it's, yeah. Look, Google it. Moving on. Now that we have less games, Kieran Blowers, now we have less games to play in the season. Do you think we will be more competitive in the cups? It's something I bemoan, Joe. The kind of average teams in the Premier League don't properly go for the FA Cup and the League Cup. Do you think we will?
No, I think we will use the cup to play our second string players, as we have done previously under McKenna. I know it's a frustration that people have, but we have a big squad and we have to keep everyone fit. And these games do give us an opportunity. Last year, I think we played 3 or 4 games with everyone in the squad, and it meant that. Well, at the time, Kieran Slicker got some games. Christian Walton got some games later on. Janoy Danastian, Cameron Humphreys, George Edmondson, Elkin Baggett. There's a lot of players there. When you effectively have 2 11s in your squad, you want to be able to give everyone a run out, don't you? Get everyone up to speed.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to look up that name and whether I've said something stupidly offensive. Phil, moving us on even further, how much... This came up on Saturday, Joe. I think the £100 million mark was quoted. Phil asks, how much more are we likely to, or be able to spend? Are we now looking for out of contract players, or are we still going for it?
Well, we now know that we were in for Flynn Downs at the end of last week, and the fee for him was £18 million. So it looks as though we've got another £80 million to spend there. We've been in for Philogene at reportedly £80 million, and these, I guess, they don't cancel each other out, those two. So it sounds like we've got another 30, 40 million to spend on a left wing and a central midfielder. And I don't know what I said we spent earlier, didn't I? Was it 56 million? So I imagine it's going to be, it's going to be around 100 million, isn't it? It feels like I don't really see any way that it doesn't get there when you look to see what we still need. When we need at least one central midfielder, we obviously are targeting another left-sided forward because we've Philogene and Smodix have been spoken about. There's 2 big players there. We probably need another central midfielder. We're going to want at least someone to back up Wes Burns on the right, or if Liam Delap is seen as that first-tile option, we'll want another striker there. So I could easily see us spend another 50 million quid.
Should we go to the squad depth now, Joe? got a few people asking about central midfielders. We mentioned Jacob has put together some targets, and Craig will talk you through those. Ben Sheaf, Neil asks about, do you think we're still in for Ben Sheaf? It kind of feels like that deal might be too expensive now.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like Coventry have any real need to sell. They sold Gyökeres and Gus Hamer at sort of towards the middle and the end of the transfer window last year. They started the season very, very badly, and it basically killed their season. They ended the season well, so I think they feel that next year, with the relegated teams maybe not being in the greatest position, Sheffield United seem a little bit up in the air. They made some good signings yesterday with Kiefer Moore and Callum O'Hare. They're Luton, and I can't even remember who the other team that went down was. I'm so not worried by it. Now we're not in that league, but there's Burnley, obviously. It doesn't feel. I think it feels like a big opportunity for Coventry next season to go up and build on what they've got. They've obviously got a huge amount of money in the FFP calculations because they've got 2 huge fees that they got last year. So it does feel like they can give it a go. So they're not going to let their best midfielder just walk out the door because the Premier League team wants him. If we want him if you see Flynn Downs has gone for 18 million quid, I know Sheaf is older, but Downs effectively has had Premier League experience, not made it at that level, you could say. West Ham are quite happy to see him go. So Coventry will be thinking, well, if Downs is 18 million, well, Ben Sheaf will be 18 million. And it feels a lot of money to drop for a 25-year-old central midfielder who's never played in the Premier League, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, Colin talks about Sheaf's probably got the motivation to play there. The question is, as you say,
he's also got a long contract.
Yeah, but I mean, we also have 2 excellent central midfielders who have no Premier League experience, and then to make it a third who costs 20 million quid, it just, as you say, feels like a gamble too far, perhaps. And I mean, it actually neatly kind of dovetails with the question that Norman's asked. We seem to be shopping in the Championship for most of our signings. I think Muric doesn't really count because he's hasn't played in the Championship for Burnley this coming season. But I get the point in respect of the others. Do you think we'll make any signings from foreign markets?
We obviously were heavily in for that Fotis Ioannidis, which seems a strange one because it isn't one that really fits our profile. But I know there's this leaked transfer dossier that was in the Sun, but that did say in it, from what I gather, that does seem accurate. Like when you look at it, it all seemed stuff you'd expect to say, but it said they want players who are English speaking or have worked underneath an English coach. So I don't see that we're going to be bringing someone in from a foreign league who's never played in England and spending a lot of money on them and expecting them to hit the ground running. But then obviously the Fotis Ioannidis link doesn't tally up with that. But you can see why they want players and where they want them from. I think this is probably Muric is probably our first foreign signing since probably Václav Hladky,
isn't it?
Yeah, since Václav. Well, Hladky was under Game Changer.
Yeah,
but probably just him. And I say, we've had the link with Ioannidis, but it does feel like we want players that have played in England a long time, have come through, especially English academies. The top academies seems to be very important players who are sort of mouldable and intelligent. And I can see that in the future we will go foreign because we will need to. But at the moment, it does feel lower risk to. Yeah, maybe the players are more expensive, but even someone who had an excellent season last year, sadly, but like Gabby Sarah at Norwich, that still took him a year to settle into the Championship before he looked good for a year. And we haven't got that yet. We haven't got a year for players to settle in. We need players to hit the ground running, and that's why we're approaching the market the way we are.
Yeah, good call. A few names have been lobbed in the mix. Good to see people's expectations have been recalibrated. Rodri asks Michael. Nico Williams asks Trevor. Hamer has been lobbed in by Neil. Probably more realistic, but Sheffield United want to get a profit on that fee, wouldn't they? So,
but there is interesting on Nico Williams. There was I did see someone today, but I didn't have a chance to verify the source. But with regards to Aston Villa being in for him and Unai Emery wanting him, and it's like, well, that's another left-sided winger. Does that mean Philogene, who still hasn't been announced there, even though he was going there for a medical on Monday? I'd be interested to see if that is still live. I haven't used as much mental energy thinking about it this week as I did last week, where it seemed to be the only thing I was worried about. But I wonder, well, who knows? Sorry to set everyone back off again with that one. It could quite easily be that one's not going through for whatever reason. Not to say he'll come here ahead of Everton, Crystal Palace. But yeah, it doesn't seem right that apparently terms are agreed. He's going there for a medical, and that was Monday, and we're now at Wednesday night, and nothing's happened.
Yeah, well, I said it on Saturday. I'll say it again. So you're telling me there's a chance, Joe? Here's underscore Booth. Evening, lads. Knew Muric was big, but he looks absolutely huge in the recent club video. Hopefully, he'll be a lot more commanding, as I felt that's where Ladke struggled. Yeah, fair shout there, I think.
Well, we've seen from the stats with regards to cross-stopping that
Yeah,
it is a strength of his. And like I said, when you see the sides of him, that picture of him next to Rene Gilmartin with the kit that you showed, Rene Gilmartin is an absolute unit as well. He is massive. He's not a... If like those two guys, they look about the same size, but if you put me in front of them, I'll be obviously much fatter, but also a lot smaller.
No, come on, Joe. Don't do yourself down. It's different body sizes for different needs.
It is awkward because my children used to do swimming lessons at the same time as Rene Gilmartin's children, and afterwards, sort of sitting in the baby pool trying to breathe in next to him as he just sits there absolutely stacked.
Click, 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 click. Yeah, yeah. He's the anomaly, not you. Don't worry about it. Let's have a look at the squad depth, Joe. I mean, it's the central midfield area that we were talking about on Saturday, and it's kind of no different, really. But any other areas that you wanted to mention there for possible recruitment?
Yeah, like I say, it's central midfield, isn't it? And then left back, because you'd hope we get Humphreys out on loan, so someone to pack up there. Right back is settled. Centre backs are settled unless an amazing opportunity comes up. Hutchison, Chaplin, Delap, Burns, Broadhead. Not too worried about Harness at the moment, but makes you think we need at least one more there, maybe two to cover that. And then up front, if Delap isn't seen, I think we do need another striker in there. So we'll see. But yeah, we're definitely building a lot of options, aren't we? Which is key. And it's assuming we're going to play the same way we did last year. Maybe we look to have an extra body in midfield, but we haven't. If that's the case, we're going to need to get moving. Yeah,
it was interesting you mentioned the right centre-back slot as well. Obviously, Edmondson didn't play a great deal of minutes last season, but made contributions. Hull at home, I'm thinking, and Coventry away at the very least. But yeah, would you be tempted to let Edmondson go out and bring someone else in that right centre-back area?
Yeah, if we could get it sorted, but it feels like when there's still quite a lot of business to be doing, to add two more deals into the sort of capacity of sort of Mark Ashton and Luke Warehead's workload, it does seem, when you still probably need to make six more signings, it's easy to say you need to make six more. But if it says you've got to make 9 more signings and 3 more players out, it's very, very difficult. And these players are under contract. These players are all earning good money because they've all signed in League One on good money, been promoted to the Championship, been promoted to the Premier League. And without being too harsh on them, they haven't shown their top Championship players. And at the minimum, they're probably earning top Championship money, sort of taken outside the parachute payment club. So deals will need to be struck to get them out, like Freddie Ladapo or Marcus Harness or George Edmondson. So yeah, it's going to be difficult, but it's really helpful with Amari Hutchinson and Liam Delap both being under 21 players. So effectively, we do have room for them in the squad. And if we aren't able to get them out towards the end of the window, they can still be registered for us. They can still, you don't have to go through that stage where it's like, sorry, you're not registered. You're not going to play for the next few months. So yeah, so we're in a really good position on that.
Yep. And these players will want to prove themselves as well. And it's not every footballer in their career ends up in the top flight, and you can guarantee that the levels in training trying to impress Kieran McKenna will be sky high, won't they? So I guess they deserve a chance.
Pick up a couple of Premiership games or Premier League games in the season, but could be their career highlight, just to play 3 games in the Premier League. Sort of someone like Marcus Harness, who came through the academy at Burton, who's played in the lower leagues, that he can be a Premier League player, even if it's for a few games, and then move on at the end of the season. That might be seen as a big move for him, and it helps him to get another club after this and areas like that. So yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult to push people out the door.
But just I guess to summarise where we leave things as of the 17th of July, we think a left-sided attacker, a striker, and then 2 central midfielders are probably the must-do business, right?
Yeah, and then the left wing back, effectively.
And then okay.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, those 5.
Good. Let's head back to the chat, finish off there. And if you've got any other comments on outstanding recruitment from your perspective, any other targets, ideally real people. I couldn't find anything on Google, by the way, for that. There might be some typos in there, I don't know. And anything else before we say goodbye, do get them in now. McSaucepan, do we have an option on Leaf, or is he out of contract at the end of this season? On the
we have got an option on Leaf, when he signed.
okay.
So we do have one, but I'm sure that is one that we'll be looking to tie down to sort out at this point. But he probably will want to wait a little bit to show that he is a Premier League player and deserves to be earning as much money as the Jacob Greaves, Amari Hutchinsons, Muric, and all the other signers that have come in who are probably earning sort of top money now. He'll want to be showing that he's as important to us as those guys are.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen any contract renewals yet, Joe. Do you expect some of those to happen?
I think they'll wait for the season to start.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not going to say this was a deciding factor in it not coming home. Leif Davis obviously not selected, and that left back slot was an issue. You're wearing an England shirt. Do you want to give your reaction on the Gareth Southgate situation while we're here?
I think it's probably the right time, but it's sad to see him leave because he's been such a brilliant manager for us. I know people have got their criticisms of maybe sometimes the style of football, but realistically, when you look at the job he came into after we'd just been beaten by Iceland, the FA after that had decided to appoint Sam Allardyce to it, and you look at what he's done with the culture, everything around the club, around the country, he's turned it into a club side, and the guy who gets a job next after Gareth Southgate is picking up a brilliant job from a brilliant position. And if we do go on to win something in the future, Gareth Southgate, the foundations he's laid, will be a big part of that. So, it's probably the right time for him to move on because I think he's a good man and I don't think he'd deserve some of the treatment he'd probably start to get if things didn't go. But, just a sort of, the best England manager of my lifetime by a long distance.
Yeah, we kind of got used to semi-finals, haven't we? And even finals. But prior to that, that wasn't common in our lifetimes, was it? Once under Sir Bobby, wasn't it? So he will be. He'll be missed. It'll be interesting to see who comes in next. Whether they go down the kind of tactical route, or whether they kind of go for balls out, entertaining, high energy, kind of a Klopp type appointment. I'm not sure Klopp would fancy it, would he? As much as I'd love him to be there, I don't think he doesn't feel like an international manager for me.
No, and I think it's such a different sport, international football, compared to club football, where you get the players once a month, maybe sort of 30 days over a year to actually work with them, that it's really difficult to go from the club where you're seeing them every single day, instilling that culture and going in that way. And it does feel you're almost setting yourself up for a fall when you're a very successful manager to, like I say, you look at Pep Guardiola, for example, he's won the Champions League, once in the last 10 years. And this is what the World Cup or the European Championships are. It is the Champions League. It's not the league where the best team wins it after 38 games. This is the one where you've got to get it right on every single one of those match days. And if you have one bad match day, you're over. So you need a cup manager there, not a league manager.
Good call. Ollie asks, what about the young French central defensive midfielder that Chelsea have just brought and looking to loan out? Do you think the fact that he isn't English would rule him out, Joe? I think you mentioned him on TWTD. Ring a bell?
Yeah, Leslie Ugochukwu, I think his name is. And it was just because there doesn't seem many names in the central midfield sort of links, does it? Sort of, there was Flynn Downs as Ben Sheaf, and I think maybe Pierre Ekwa at some point at the very start of the summer from Sunderland, but there just doesn't seem a huge amount of names there. And I just noticed I think it was on The Athletic, that David Ornstein again said that Chelsea are willing to loan out Ugochukwu this season. There's 3 Premier League clubs interested in him. And it's like, well, maybe we're one of the 3 Premier League clubs that are in for him. He's a 20-year-old French midfielder, another big guy, sort of 6'3". I think he only played a dozen times for Chelsea last year, but he was injured basically for the rest of the season. So he played like 9 games, missed 25, and then came in to play the last 3. But most of those appearances were from the bench, but he was a 25 million quid signing from Rennes, where he played sort of 50 games then as a teenager in Liga. And so he's obviously got good pedigree, but is that what we go in for? I don't know. I'm just struggling to find names of players. I'm sure when Jacob releases his...
Yeah, I was going to say, hold that thought. Yeah, we've got 5 and a load of loans as well. So Jacob's done his research. Craig's done the voiceover. I need to edit it out. Hopefully we'll put that out Friday morning, I guess. So maybe some names to fry in the think wok there. We dealt with Callum has gone to Sheffield United, isn't he? So that question that ship has sailed. FPL Tractor, Rich. I've heard room for Ivor Biggin. That one you've heard of? Where does he play? What position, FPL Tractor? If as long as he can play in the central midfield role,
You don't want him at the back.
That's fine. That's all good with me. Underscore Booth. What level are we looking for the outgoing loans? He's mentioned Al Hamadi, Humphreys, Slicker. Feel like guaranteed game time is more important than the level. Joe, your take on those three?
Yeah, if I was just thinking off the top of my head, I think Al Hamdi would probably be a lower end championship. Humphreys probably top end League One, maybe lower end championship if he's lucky. And Slicker, either SPL or League One, but ideally you want him at a slightly higher level than that. But yeah, you just want those guys to get games, don't you?
Yep, exactly right. And I think that a whole season as well benefits them too. So yeah, we shall wait and see. I guess we're expecting loans to be quite late in the window, so you'd imagine those three will be, unless it's like a whole season loan, probably quite late in the day, maybe those three.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. I guess it just depends if we've got the right people in to replace them and when we get them in. Because in an ideal world, if we want to get them out, we'd want to get them out now. But we need to get the players in first before we can get them out. And as I mentioned earlier with Christian Walton, we'll do what's in the best interest of Ipswich Town FC, not in the best interest of Cameron Humphreys, which is
good call.
Blunt, but it's the truth. If we feel we need him around, we'll keep him around, whether that means he plays one game this season or not.
Yeah, Michael's mentioned another link with the England job. I think we can skip through that one nice and quickly. A possible another criteria for the statue outside the ground, isn't it? If that were to happen, but I think that's one for another day. I think we're good in the chat, Joe. I think we're good there. We need to say thank you again to Atwells and to One Stop Badges. You can find out more about them in the links in the description. Get your final thoughts in or shout outs before we say goodbye. Just to repeat, Midfield possible transfer target options, a video between Jacob and Craig that will come out end of the week. And we will do a show on Sunday, probably around the FPL. Oh, reminds me, I do have the screenshot with the code in it for our general league. Get involved. There may or may not be a prize. If you're listening on the podcast, should I do the kind of the bill, the kind of, is it Charlie Uniform 0 Indigo Kilo Kilo? There you go. Can still remember that.
At least you didn't start that and realise as you get to the end you couldn't remember what one.
Yeah, I mean the beginning and the end, Joe, is a bit of a problem, isn't it? Frankly, I can't I need to recycle a new code. And if you, as you said, Telegram group, the debate continues 24/7. So do join us over there. There is a head-to-head league specifically for our Telegram group that you can get involved in there as well. So another reason to join the Telegram group. Another thing that I need to talk about as well, ITFC Women have made their 5th signing today as well. They've been really aggressive with their recruitment. Ella Rutherford joining, I think, on a free transfer, but had been at Charlton for quite a while. A lot of players signed from the league above with a lot of top flight experience as well. At some point, we'll probably try and get an interview with someone at ITFC Women, but if there's interested in understanding more about the women's team, that's some stuff that I can put together. We can go through that as well. So let us know in the comments if that's something you're interested in. But Joe, very briefly, we kind of talked about how the Premier League money kind of does slosh through the club, and ITFC Women are not holding back, are they, in their attempts to get promoted to the second tier with the recruitment they've done so far?
No. And you look at the sort of squad size for the last couple of years, it's been quite a small squad they've had. And so I can't say I know a lot about the players that have signed, but each one I look at, it's like they started 20 games for Charlton last year in the Championship. Yeah. They were playing there. They played England under-19s. This one played for Lewis. And it does seem that the 5 players that have come in are all probably on a talent level of higher than anything we've probably got in the club already. So it's really good when you look at like what Ipswich Town men's team are doing, where you sign players and they go in at the sort of top of your ability level, and the guys that were good starters for you sort of become good subs for you. And it looks like maybe that's where we're going there, but without still focusing on the young players. I noticed a couple of new contracts, first pro contracts being given out to some of the young girls who played, probably sort of broke into the team for the first time last year as well. But it does feel like hopefully that this can be the year that we get into the Championship. But I know they've got a very, very tough start to the season. You don't want it to be a case like, was it last season or the year before, where after 2 games it felt like you had a mountain to climb just to get up. So it's so important that these players are in early and can start the season well.
Yeah, hashtag an Oxford up first. So yeah, a real baptism of fire for this new Ipswich Town women's squad. But yeah, really aggressive recruitment is what I want to call it. You know, definite increase in talent and on all throughout the pitch as well. Probably maybe a little bit light up front, perhaps. Question mark about goalkeeper, perhaps. But you know, certainly a much stronger footing to start the season than we had last year. So yeah, exciting times there. Joe, I'm going to come to you finally for your views on your final summings up on Aro Muric before we say goodbye. But just a quick hello to everyone in the chat before we say goodbye. Michael, up to 12 degrees. There you go in Brisbane. That's all good. Thanks to Sharon for joining us. Helmazoni to score on his debut for Oxford.
Which is against Norwich.
Hey, there you go. Thank you to Jem. Thank you to Chris for joining as well. FPL keen for a ITFC Women Insight. I'll try and see if I can get Joe Sheehan back on the pod, or maybe even Rachel, the new GM as well. So and FPL's got insights as well on the Charlton players too. So we'll definitely try and do that. But thank you everyone for joining. Michael, are Blue Monday going to make any big signings? I mean, Joe, it's typical that we we protect the value that we have in the dressing room, right?
Yeah, we don't want us to be relegated to the subs bench, do we, Rich?
No,
so we'll leave it where we are.
Yeah, well, we are here. Can you do it on a humid Wednesday night in the middle of the summer? Joe and I can. Damn right. So, Joe, final summings up on Aro Muric.
Yeah, so I think everyone was aware I was a big fan of Václav Hladkin. Loved his style. Loved watching him last year. And I say you look at what we're getting with Muric, and it does look like you're getting all the best bits of Hladky, and then the areas where he struggled with shot stopping, crosses, dominating his box. It looks like we get that as well. But I think it is going to be a case of enjoy the ride and try not to listen to the person next to you telling him to hoof it, because he is not going to be doing it.
He is not. Joe, thank you for your insights. As always, we will post all of those bits and pieces, the stats, the cartwheel's the wrong word, but you know what I mean, the wagon wheel or whatever is the graphics.
I think wagon wheel is correct, yeah.
Wagon wheel, we'll go with that. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us on your Wednesday night. Please do give a thumbs up. Do subscribe if you haven't already as well. Plenty more content, hopefully plenty more signings for us to react to. And let us know your views in the comments as well. Come and join us on Blue Monday Telegram. And Joe, let's end on prediction for where the next signing will be. What position on the field in our squad depth are we going to be filling next?
I think it won't be central midfield again, and people will then start to panic about that. So I think it will be a left-sided attacking player.
There you go. Maybe it'll be Philogene. No, it won't. No, it won't. Moving on. Joe, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Welcome, Aro Muric. Bring on signing number 6.